All right, hello everyone. It's mysticjuicer back with some more Codex action. This time I am playing against Ms.Stress. This is Shax's sister. She is very new to Codex. Just the day before, though, she made her way to the grand finals of the FSX Yomi tournament, facing off against Thello and losing very narrowly in grand finals. I think the final count was 3-2 for Thello. So acquitted herself very, very nicely, and notably beat me as well. So I am going for a bit of Codex revenge here. Unfortunately for her, again, she has not all that experience with Codex, so I will be able to show off a little bit of what this Codex is supposed to be doing, how it's supposed to be working, and I can talk a little bit about purple at the same time. So previously we had discussed that, or I, Jackson and her had discussed that, what Codex do you play as a new player? So mono purple was the suggested Codex, again, because present is such a strong Tech 2 build, and you can play a very standard game plan with present. Open with Argonaut and Stewardess of the Undone, which I don't have access to because it is a past Tech 1. But yeah, 3 cost for a 2/3, and you can return a Tech 0 unit to its hand. So in the early game, when you just get to Tech 1, it can be very effective at taking out a key patroller and letting you run loose and wreak some havoc in your opponent's backline. So just trying to decide how I want to patrol here. Present or mono purple, so purple starter does have some hasted stuff. Luckily it's already come out, so the Nullcraft has already come out. See a bit of wasted potential here. The Nullcraft could have attacked base for one. Because it's flying, there's it can't defend. I don't have any flying stuff in the early game, so it really can't. There's no point to putting it in defense in a sense. And it can't be targeted by buff or debuff spells either. So stuff like Wither and Wither in particular doesn't work on it. Don't know if Spark. No, that's not the right one. Okay, it's Burn, yeah. So it doesn't count as buff or debuff. So I could have sparked it actually. So, but Spark can only target a patroller, so actually patrolling with it is the only thing that could put it at risk. So just attacking with it, with Nullcraft every turn, is probably the most effective use of that thing. Follows up with Hardened Nox, or Hardened Mox, I should say. 1/1 indestructible unit for 1. As soon as you play a Tech 2 unit, you trash it. So again, very slow opener here, and I think it's a very common early or new player mistake. Again, in the early game, typically against most, especially monocolor decks, having a board presence, so playing something and a hero early, trying to keep that hero alive and using it to defend and bolster your attack and your defense is just so important, so valuable, that it can be very, very difficult to recover if you don't follow that kind of path. And I think you'll see it here. So right now, if you look at this situation, yeah. So putting Wither on the Hardened Mox, because it cannot die because it's indestructible, it will just perpetually be at -1, a 0/0 unit that is perpetually exhausted. And what this means is there are no defenders, and I have 4 damage worth of attack on the board. I could potentially have 5. No, I don't think I have enough money after the Wither to max band Bigby. And anyway, I don't think I really have to. I can, that's very all in if I chose to do that kind of thing. But there's really no reason for me to do that. I can just deal 4 damage to Tech 1. Purple doesn't have any way to heal buildings offhand that I know of. So at any point I can clip Tech 1 wings, prevent her from going to Tech 2, and just basically prevent her from being able to defend against an increasingly wild board on my end. So Stewardess comes out, puts the older brother back in my hand, and will have a 2/3 defender, which is very important. But it is a fairly expensive 2/3. Doesn't have an incredible body, and again, it is the only defender that is currently out. The only thing that she can patrol with effectively, given that the Nullcraft cannot. So it's time to pick a hero. Geiger is definitely... So Geiger or Veer are pretty good combat heroes. Veer and Prin, the past and future hero, are rather expensive. They have a high max band. Geiger has a much lower one. It's much less expensive to get a pretty good body on him. 2 money to put him at mid band, make him a 2/4 is not bad at all. There comes the second mistress, or second stewardess. So she could actually return the Mox to hand and at least have the Mox off the board and have an additional card to discard, which probably is better. Probably be a pretty good use of the stewardess, actually. Now that I think about it, so a bit of a wasted opportunity there. On the other hand, this thin decks, so maybe it is a better choice to leave it out. Somebody smart, leave a comment. Let me know which of those is actually the better game plan. Okay, so I'm taking Hyperion and Injunction just because, yeah, Injunction will be pretty difficult to deal with. Will help cement my lead on the board, and Hyperions are really good. So, tech them and play them. Okay, yeah, just putting out a Sentry, one of the only things in my codex that has anti-air. Very, very soft to flyers, I think, this particular codex, among other things. But I'll get into that in later games that'll better illustrate that. So Sentry is kind of a tech card. It's not a great body, but it does have at least high attack, and it can be pretty good on the offensive. So, attacking for 3 and then possibly doing Spark Shot as well is pretty good. So Big B attacks, removing 1 point of armor and dealing 1 point of damage to the Stewardess. I will very likely be at least mid-banding Big B. There's no reason not to. Okay, Spark and then Timely Messenger to get rid of one of the Stewardesses. Pretty expensive way to make some room there. Oh yeah, still have 3 cards in hand because she did bounce my older brother. So not as behind in hand size as I could be, all else being equal. Yeah, so mid-band Big B, so he's at least a 2/4. Gives him the same amount of health as if he was max banded. So that's not too bad. The Sentry in squad lead, so that she would have to trade both the Stewardess and the Nullcraft in, unless she does have battle suits, giving both soldiers and mystics +1 attack. Not sure. I'm pretty sure Stewardess must be a mystic, right? Yeah, okay, good. And the Nullcraft, so that would be the additional damage needed. Mech airship, yeah, no. But yeah, that would give the requisite amount of damage to be able to kill or trade the Stewardess with the Sentry direct. Okay, use of origin story there, and Prin does come out, so returns Big B to my command zone, or my hero's garrison, or whatever. Hero's waiting area. So Prin, yeah, again, becomes pretty fearsome in the once she's at max, and I guess she does eventually become a 2/4, but you have to spend quite a lot of money to get her there. In the meantime, she is not all that great at applying pressure. So deciding to go for a Nullcraft attack, I'm just reminding her that it does in fact have anti-air, so it would not be free. Would have to trade the Nullcraft in. She can clear the sentry with Nullcraft and Stewardess here. I think it wouldn't be the worst thing to do that. The other option is just to patrol the Stewardess in squad lead. That effectively locks out the sentry unless I, buff it or do something to it. So depending on how scared of that option you are, how effective or how difficult it might be to deal with an attacking sentry plus whatever I play, because this build does have a lot of hasted stuff. You have to give some consideration for whether, Tech 2 isn't online, so it's only going to be a nimble fencer, so it's probably not too scary in order to to deal with. So no huge reason to elect to clear a threat off my board as opposed to kind of retain your own board and then later trade it once the sentry has removed itself from my patrol zone by attacking. Essentially committed to an offensive posture rather than a defensive one. I'm just going to put Big B back out. I do have Injunction kicking around inside my discard pile, so I will be seeing that eventually. I want to make sure that I have Big B out at that point. Okay, do elect to go to Tech 2 at last. Present coming online. I don't think I have any Tech 2 stuff in hand. It didn't seem like I did. It all looked like white cards. Okay, I do have an Argonaut. Just deciding how important it is to play that Argonaut now, I suppose, as opposed to maybe blooming the sentry. Yeah, there we go. Bloom the sentry. That'll allow me to kill the Stewardess without dying. And also put 1 damage on Rin. Again, keeps the board very clear. The sentry can still be traded. The Nullcraft can trade into the sentry to get rid of it, but it also gets rid of the Nullcraft, which at this point is not doing a terrible amount anyway, so might not be a bad idea to do that. So my options there were either buff the sentry to kill the Stewardess or just play an Argonaut. Because I have, I've got a couple of different things that I could do. In a vacuum, I think just playing the Argonaut is probably a better idea there. Just spend the 3 money. Oh, I guess I had, yeah, okay, I workered as well. So never mind, there we go. Wasn't a true choice, really. Yeah. Tries to go for Hyperions, but you do need Tech 2 for that. So thankfully I avoid that particular fate. Don't have to be too worried about that happening. Unless shenanigans occur. So shenanigans do not yet occur. Is going for present as the Tech 2. And looks like I've got some good stuff in hand there. Injunction is definitely in that hand. I can start locking down Tech 2. I could also use it to get around this Argonaut as it is a Tech 1 unit, and then just try to deal 5 damage to Tech 2, try to lock things down that way. Yeah, a couple of different options will arise. I think that looks like a Hyperion on my hand. So this next turn should be pretty good for me. Yeah, taking again a step back to what is maybe going wrong for Ms.Stress here. I think it's very likely, unless she got really unlucky with the draws, that she teched 2 stewardesses as her first tech choice. She did draw both of them in the first kind of cycle. So I think that's generally kind of the problem with teching 2 of the same thing. Typically, if you get both of your tech 1 draws on that flop, you're only going to be playing one of them anyway. So as a general rule of thumb, unless you very specifically need a very specific answer at any given time, I think just teching an Argonaut and a Stewardess, and then another Argonaut and another Stewardess would be perfectly fine, and much more valuable. The Argonaut, a 3/5 in squad lead can be really hard to deal with, like really hard. 5 hit points is a lot. That's a tech building's worth of health, and it comes with 3 attack on the front of it, which is pretty great. And this whole time I haven't realized that we haven't been tracking Prin's fading counters, but at this point I think she probably has 1 left on her anyway, and she's not going to be surviving all that much longer in any case. A bit of an odd patrol as well. I think the additional +1 attack on the Argonaut is not all that important, at least on the board, and especially not against Hyperions. Just having, protecting your hero, putting something in front of your hero instead, probably more effective in the long. So the sentry is going to end up clearing Prin, and then dealing 1 to the Argonaut, which doesn't really matter. But the Hyperion will be swinging into the Argonaut to clear that, giving me the draw. And then I'll just have a whole bunch more board presence. The Hyperion will have 1 hit point left, so the Nullcraft can go ahead and snipe it. But it was effectively a card neutral 4 damage direct damage spell, which is pretty good. If a Hyperion gets to attack twice, that is so much value. But luckily they are really good if they just attack once anyway. Okay, Injunction on Tech 2, so no Tech 2 units can come out. So, no Immortals on defense, no counter Hyperion, no Tricycloid to be able to ping the Hyperion. Basically trying to constrain Ms.Stress's ability to defend herself. And with just the Nullcraft on board, so essentially no defenders on board, and only able to play 1 hero to defend, this is rapidly cycling out of control. She does make a bit of an error here, well, a pretty significant error here in not using the Nullcraft to kill the Hyperion. Instead electing to, I think, bring Tech 1 a little bit closer to death. But you need to kill the Hyperion. There's no way leaving that alive goes well. So a bit of an error. This is timed. We both have 25 minutes on chess clocks, and if you run out of time, you will simply lose. So I'm definitely feeling the pressure in each of these games to play as quickly as possible. I am very not used to playing under time pressure, especially this game. Yomi, feel pretty comfortable of getting those rounds done quickly, but this one definitely not. So she plays Forgotten Fighter here, but there's really nothing to target except, I think, Hardened Mox, and there's really no reason to do that. So I end up convincing her out of that just because it's not nothing. It's a nothing play. It's too money to do nothing. So better to just worker it, or even just retain the hardened hand and discard it, try to draw into something better. But this is definitely a losing situation for Ms.Stress right now. And especially with the misplay of not killing the Hyperion that's going to come up in a second. One that is it's just a big enough error, especially with it's just a big enough error on its own, especially with a broken Tech 2 or an ineffective Tech 2, that there's almost no coming back from it. So ways she could have avoided that. Teching, staggering the techs to maybe get the Argonaut out a little earlier probably would have helped. Patrolling the Argonaut in squad lead instead of Prin, which was free kill for my sentry, my boosted sentry. Would also maybe have been effective in at least prolonging things. Not sure exactly why. Oh, okay, yeah, she maxed Geiger to refresh the mocks, which is a pretty expensive use of Geiger, but at this point where you only have Tech 1 building alive, any defender is probably a good idea. So this might actually be a stabilizing play for her if she used the Nullcraft to snipe the Hyperion. So you kill the Hyperion, you have the hardened mocks in squad lead that is at least defends against Bigby. It's another defender against something like any of the Tech 2 stuff that I play. But yeah, I think instead pinged base. Unfortunately, losing in Codex, especially early on, is probably one of the most discouraging feelings, especially if you're playing against somebody that's not near-ish your skill level. I was just talking about I think the hardened mocks not getting particularly, not being able to get, for instance, the death bonuses of the Scavenger and Technician. Also noting that I have to wither if she patrols the hardened mocks in squad lead. I have to have exactly wither to disable the mocks for free, or disable the mocks with one spell without attacking into it. Now luckily I do have wither, so I am able to do that, but it wouldn't have made a difference if the mox was in elite instead. So patrolling an elite, I have a hasted unit, the timely messenger, that can just snipe it down, or just spark would also do that. So again, if I did not have this Hyperion, I would actually have kind of a difficult time dealing with this max banded Geiger. I would have to I would have to would probably actually have to patrol Bigby, just like not attack with him at all. I certainly wouldn't, be able to get the free damage off on tech building here. Four damage to tech 1 or tech 2. I do have a brick thief in hand, so I can use that to kill tech 2. So I should almost certainly do that. Oh, okay, yeah, tricycloid also works. Tricycloid is also pretty good. and that will be a 5/5 patroller, 5/6 patroller in squad lead. Geiger out. Again, every turn that the Hyperion stays alive, that is another turn that I get an opportunity to use Geiger's max band to flicker it. Putting another, like essentially putting it back into play. It has haste, it gets to attack again. It gets to draw me another card. Again, this is the typical Codex game plan, I feel like. Get ahead on board, keep their Tech 2 from ever staying alive long enough so that you can continue, so that you're ahead, so that you can get more ahead to the point where you can finally either wipe out their base in a single grand attack, or eventually put them in a position where they just simply cannot reasonably maintain defense of their tech buildings. They will never get their Tech 2 building. They may also continuously lose their Tech 1 building, and then that is game over. So it's not quite there yet, but it is certainly getting there. Again, the longer that Hyperion stays alive, the more free value I get out of it, the more and more difficult it will be to defend. So again, had Ms.Stress had a little bit more experience, I think this would be a much more even game, which doesn't speak all that well to this Codex's relative strength. But I haven't yet done the full shenanigans yet with the Codex. So temporal distortion to be able to further flicker things and get more more shots with the Hyperion per turn. Now on Immortals and Tricycloids to get hasted damage in addition to the Tricycloid ping. All that good stuff. Really do a lot of damage all at once. So again, putting Prin out just as a 1/3. Prin does play an important role in the mono purple world beyond just spells and Mistress and stuff like that. That max band ability is no joke. It is non-spell based, uncounterable. It relies purely on the hero itself. There's nothing additional you have to tech in. And you can just for free, essentially, at the mere cost of some money, for what is it? From 1 to 7 and 6. So for free, by paying 8 gold for free, you get to remove a single target from the board, essentially indefinitely. She becomes a 3/5, which is no joke to deal with. So she can attack a lot. She has a lot of hit points actually. So she can continuously get those fading tokens, and then continuously hold on to that stashed unit that she has removed from play. Okay, I should be able to kill from this position. I've still got the Tricycloid or the Hyperion alive. Disabling Tech 1 removes her entire patrol zone from the patrol zone. And now I just need to find 15 damage. I've already got 9, 12 on the board. Just between max banding Geiger and so this is lethal just off of this board alone. Swinging with Tricycloid and Hyperion will deal 9. And then max band Geiger, then he attacks, that's 12. Max band flickers the Hyperion, that's another 4 damage. Which is 16. I only need to deal 15, and that is GG. So nicely played on Ms.Stress's part. Unfortunately, just a couple of misplays mean that I was able to maintain the board I needed to clear at the end of this. And actually, yeah, do not even see the lethal in front of me. I'm instead getting... no, what am I getting instead? Oh, okay, no, never mind. So not sure why I saw why I was going through my deck there. Maybe just hadn't noticed that I had lethal on the board anyway. Or maybe I had to jurisdiction for the injunction? That's possible. Yeah, but that's going to be the play. So Maxman Geiger got the full amount of damage off of him. That's going to be another 7, which is GG. So nicely played. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope that was a lot of fun to see. Until next time, enjoy yourself some Codex. Cheers.